Jeff Passan of ESPN reporting that the Los Angeles Angels have placed starter Lucas Giolito, relievers Matt Moore, Ronaldo Lopez, and outfielders Hunter Renfroe and Randall Grichuk on waivers. Simply salary dump because Otani's not pitching anymore and the team stinks and they're out of it. And the owner, as Steve Phillips just said, Phillips is projecting the owner will try to sell the team again.
And this is absolutely about cash, and that's it.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought was in the early 70s when Charles Finley tried to sell players.
Mm.
And the commissioner stepped in and said, you can't sell players.
Right.
But this changes. The first thing everyone's talking about is this dramatically could change
playoff races. Well, and that's
absolutely.
Like you're talking legit pieces. Lucas Giolito was one of the 2 or 3 best arms available. They just acquired him a month ago for a haul, and now they put him on waivers. And they acquired Ronaldo Lopez as well. They acquired 2 arms out of Chicago, paid a price for it, and now they're both available for nothing. And Phillips, we just had Steve on, and it's been clarified that it is not league-centric in terms of waivers. So everyone is capable of grabbing these guys.
The worst to best.
Worst to best. So you can count out a number of teams. Obviously, Oakland, Kansas City, Colorado, the White Sox. Like, none of the bad teams that are out of it. Even the Yankees. The Yankees are out of it. They're not claiming anybody. But you get into a situation where you're talking the Marlins, who are chasing a wild card. I don't see them doing it, though, because I don't think that ownership will get involved. Cincinnati, small market. I'm not sure they pick up price tags. But then you get into some big boys quick.
San Fran, yes.
The Giants and the Red Sox have money, and they're both in the Giants are just outside of the wild card. Like if you're Arizona, who are trying to make the playoffs here for the first time in a while, and Arizona's a team that could possibly claim these guys. You look at it, the Jays are further up the list. Miami, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Boston, Arizona, Minnesota, and the Cubs would all be able to stake claim to these players before the Jays could.
Do the Cubs jump in here?
Well, the Cubs are another team. Like, they don't spend like they used to, but they're still the Cubs. Like the Giants, the Red Sox, and the Cubs. And that's going to be such a bad look if these guys disperse throughout those 3 teams.
But so each player is handled individually. You put a waiver claim in on just a player, but you can put claims in on all 5.
If you want to. That's what Steve was saying. Like, technically, a team could get all of these players. Now, they'd have to release players from the 40-man roster and all that. Like, it's more complicated than that. No team's likely to do that. But I wouldn't be shocked if a team grabbed a couple of these guys.
Well, do you hedge your bets? Now it's a chess game, okay? If you're going after him, do I go after him?
Right. Do I take him first?
Like, it's clear that they're going to,
Yeah.
2 position players and 3 pitchers, correct?
Yes. A starter, 2 relievers, and 2 bats. Including one of them, Randall Grichuk, a former Blue Jay, who's a right-handed, capable of hitting for power player.
And this is a 48-hour term. So
yep, they've got
the commissioner's going to get involved.
He's got to. I mean,
some capacity.
This is just such a blatantly dishonest way of running your operation. It looks cheap. It feels cheap. It doesn't feel like the major leagues.
What does it open up? If another team says, well, wait a second, look who I'm going to try and dump.
That's actually, I think that's probably the better angle of looking at it from a commissioner's standpoint.
The chain reaction.
Exactly. It's not so much that this is unfair that these teams aren't going to be able to get them, so these teams chasing them are going to improve. It's more so Oakland wakes up and goes, oh, we can do that?
Oh, boy.
Why am I paying this guy?
7 guys.
Yeah. Like, how about the Mets? The Yankees? Like, these guys,
the Mets could do anything.
The Mets have so much money.
They could do anything.
Right. But if you're looking at it and you're other teams like that, you're like, what am I paying these guys
for?
What are
you mad at somebody?
Yeah. They're out. We're out of it. They're free agents at the end of the year. Just, well, fine, we'll release them too. See you later. Like, there is a real competitive, like, balance issue here, and there's an integrity of sport issue here. Where
the commissioner steps in.
I'm sorry, I don't think he can. I think he has to.
Cannot step into this.
I think he has to, because this can just set such a precedent you want nothing to do with, because like the whole point of them establishing the hard trade deadline was to effectively avoid this kind of stuff. Like the goofiness of the way they used to operate, where everyone went on waivers in August and then you'd flip them.
Crazy, and I wouldn't claim them because I'm letting them slide to you.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of politicking, a lot like guys with major contracts, they'd just be on waivers, understanding that teams wouldn't claim them. It was always a shock when that would happen from time to time because you'd hear some names, you're like, wow, that guy's a really great player. Well, he's on waivers because he's still making a ton of money and no one's going to pick that up.
Right.
But you established a hard trade deadline, just like the other leagues do. And I think it's worked out very well for baseball. This is kind of circumventing
it's cleaned
that.
it up. You never understood what was going on.
That was very confusing.
Okay, the trade deadline, but
you got claimed, and then you can work out a trade, and you make the trade.
Soft trade, eligible for playoffs, not eligible for playoffs.
Yeah, it was very confusing the way it used to operate, and they're trying to clean that up.
Even expanding the roster as much as they did.
Yep.
Because essentially, if you are a strong organization, you already get a big boost in September.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use them in the playoffs. But by your expanded roster.
Yeah. I wonder if there's an Otani angle here. I wonder if the Angels have been notified. I don't see why they would, but maybe they know we're out. Like Otani's not coming back. So this is almost in protest, like acting petulant, basically. You want to see bad? We're really going to show you
my
bad.
toys and going home.
Everyone's going to go. Everyone we acquired for you, Shohei, to try to get you into the playoffs, they're all going to leave now.
Like it's Shohei's fault.
Like it's his problem. But for me, it's Mike Trout. If I could talk to anybody, because like as much as Otani has now, he has been the man for the Angels for the past 2 or 3 years, just based on how he's played and the fact that he's been healthy. Trout's been so injury riddled. Trout's the greatest player in franchise history. Trout is the man when it comes to the LA Angels. And
we were talking about him. I was in Philly a couple weeks ago. My son-in-law is a huge sports fan. And he was talking about Mike Trout because he's like a huge Eagles fan.
He's a big Philly
guy.
Yeah.
and we were talking about the Phillies. He's like, why couldn't we get a guy like Mike Trout here who would actually want to be here?
Yep.
And we're a good team and we compete every year. And we're
well, that's going to be the question in the offseason.
He's in Eagles gear at the Eagles game.
He's a huge Eagle fan. He's a huge, I think he grew up a Phillies fan.
He did.
And like that'll be the big question mark at the winter meetings. Is anyone willing to take on his contract? Because it is so exorbitant.
Well, injuries.
And he's such an injury-plagued player. But he gets healthy. There's still Mike Trout there. Like it's not like he's 40 years old. He's in his early 30s.
When one of the best is that injury prone. Ooh,
that scares you.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
Now, maybe the Angels are willing to eat some of the contract.
He could be one of the best, most injured players that I can think of across sport.
Like in recent years, it's been every time you hear about Mike Trout, it feels like he's going on the IL.
Yeah.
And like for a serious amount of time. But if you could get them to eat even 50% of the deal, I don't know if they would based on what we saw today. But Mike Trout at half price, that becomes compelling. And maybe Philly steps in. Maybe, who knows, maybe the Yankees say, that's our guy. Like we're going to try to do something different here. Bring in Trout, have Judge.
Oh, if he was ever available and Philly didn't get him, there would be
people would be freaking in Philly, I'm sure.
Oh, it'd be great.
Confirm and deny in about 20 minutes. Our friend Cheryl Pounder coming up as well. Some wild news in baseball. And again, the Jays are back in action tonight. Bo Bichette being placed on the IL. Matt Chapman on the IL as well. They're struggling, man. The left side of the infield is out for the Jays, but they still are in a position where they should win the ball game tonight. Nationals not much of a team. They got a big win last night.
This would be a way better story if there was a third baseman or a shortstop on that list.
Exactly. Throw a stud in there that can play short or third. Now we're talking up here in Toronto, although they might not get him anyway. Another team could claim him.